Hi, this is Frank with a Frank Opinion. I was going to do a video today on the ridiculous Republican tax reform bill, but I'm postponing that until tomorrow because of the shooting in Texas, leaving 26 people dead and 20 injured. Amongst the dead, almost half of them children. I'm dedicating today's On the Spur video to Alan Zarowski, who had the same feelings that I did about yesterday's shooting, and that is that people should see the carnage, not necessarily children, but adults, and particularly elected officials, should actually see, either in person or in detailed photographs, the massacres and their effects, so that it can have some human impact on them. So I'm just going to go very quickly today into some reflections on this. The first, we've got to care. It dawned on me by reading a book recently, which I will talk about in later videos, that caring for others is the center point, the focus of any public policy that we try to achieve. Whether it be gun control, whether it be universal health, whether it be providing education, whether it be funding for infrastructure, whether it be so-called tax reform. It's got to be with the sense that we care about other people. And we can move our country in the right direction if we begin to do that. What are other countries doing? What kind of prompted this besides Alan's reaction to the shooting? I was watching today on TV scores of officials combing the grounds of this church for shell casings. Wondering, as I do, what that's going to tell us about the ability to prevent other occurrences in the future, I don't know. But we spend a whole lot of time on TV and in the journalistic media trying to figure out why this individual did what he did, where he come from, what was his timeline, who did he know, where did he purchase the guns, etc. Some of that is all well and good. But there are other things that are much more important to spend time on. Why is it that Australia, after a 1996 mass shooting that left 35 people dead and scores wounded, did not have until 2016, and I think it's to the present, another mass shooting? Why? Because in 2 weeks from that mass shooting at Port Arthur in Australia, they enacted effective gun legislation. Because they kind of told themselves, I guess easier for other cultures to do than ours, that they cared about their fellow Australians. They cared about kids, about families, about mothers and fathers, about communities. Think about the devastation of this community of 600 people, losing such a significant portion of them. Think about the families, the mothers and fathers of the first graders at Sandy Hook have to wake up every day and visualize and think about and dwell on the years that they did have with those kids before they were massacred. What do other countries do? Democrats and political calculation. Oh, I would hope that a Republican congressman or senator would introduce legislation after this. I'm not looking to them to do that because they are mostly, if not completely, in the pockets of the NRA. But I do expect Democrats to have some vestige left, regardless of the taking over of the DNC and so forth and so on. Something left in their spine with regard to introducing legislation, instead of calculating what effect that's going to have on 2018 midterm elections. I put down here Bernie Sanders' lesson. This is not a commercial for Bernie Sanders in terms of what he has stood for, as much as how he has gone about informing and educating citizens across the United States, from ocean to ocean, from Canada to Mexico, on the benefits of those things that he stands for, particularly single-payer Medicare for all. He even visited Canada recently to underscore that a country right next door to us has Medicare for all and how it's working. Why can't Democrats do the same thing? Generally, why can't elected officials, when they have something that they care about, inform people, educate people? Why isn't that the role of a congressperson or a senator, is not to educate as many people within their district in terms of things that they're for? I don't get it. So we have to have a legislative bill come out of Democrats next week, if one doesn't exist now. And as citizens, whether conservative, liberal, Republican, whatever, if you feel, as Alan does, as I do, that this has to stop, then you have to be looking forward to your congressman or senator supporting sane, so-called common sense gun control legislation. Particularly in terms of semi and automatic weaponry. It has no place in our society. Absolutely none. There's no justification for it. In order to, fulfill the thrills of a few people, and then you allow people to massacre people that you can't control, because no matter how much intelligence or mental health activity or what have you, you can never fully predict, no matter how many police officers you have casing the grounds of the church looking for casings of shells, they're not going to be able to predict the next occurrence. The only thing that we can do is effective gun control legislation, and I would submit to you that one of the first pieces of legislation as a standalone should be semi and fully automatic weapons should be out of the public domain. Long-term commitment, the Barack Obama lesson. In this case, after Sandy Hook, what I'm trying to say here is that what happened besides speeches and a few tears? He appointed Vice President Joe Biden to lead an effort to pass legislation dealing with gun control. How many months did Joe Biden spend informing, educating, or even on the whole thrust of the goal itself? Not many. Did then President Barack Obama come to that issue as something that as a country we really needed to deal with? No. No. My last reflection is this. Some people were interviewed thanking God for the neighbor, resident, that came out and confronted the shooter. There's a slogan that we attribute in our religious lives. God helps those that help themselves. I think is a more important one right now. Because God, yes, enabled that neighbor to shoot and confront the shooter, perhaps preventing more deaths. But only by helping ourselves can we prevent future massacres like this. And that's also God's lesson. Thank you.